With a recap of what was day 3 in the trial of Sean Diddy Combs. Once again, the prosecution's star witness, Cassie Ventura, was on the stand, and her testimony was both graphic and disturbing.
Obtained by CNN appears to show the music mogul assaulting his then-girlfriend, Cassie Ventura, at a hotel in 2016. In the video, Combs can be seen striking and kicking Ventura as she tried to leave. I have the video right in front of me.
What did Cassie say that stunned the courtroom into silence, pushed Diddy to the brink of a life sentence, and left his own daughter frozen in fear? The federal trial of Sean Diddy Combs has become a spectacle unlike any other, a storm of jaw-dropping revelations all orbiting one woman, Cassie Ventura. Once his lover, now his most dangerous accuser, she walked into the courtroom not as a victim, but as a force, calm, unflinching, prepared to shatter illusions. Cassie wasn't just there to testify, she came to drag the truth into the light, no matter how disturbing it was. What she described wasn't just about that infamous 2016 hotel video, the one the world already saw. This went deeper, darker. She spoke of twisted games, secret parties, rituals so depraved they sounded like fiction, but then came the names. Real people, allegedly drugged, coerced, filmed, their identities spilled into the open like a dam bursting. Each revelation landing heavier than the last, and just feet away sat the man who built the bad boy empire, the mogul who once ruled hip-hop with unmatched swagger, now silent, his once confident expression collapsing into panic. Diddy's legacy, his empire, his freedom, all on the line as Cassie pulled out evidence, texts, recordings, maybe more. If you thought this was just a scandal for headlines, think again. Who was forced to do what? Who supplied the drugs? Who recorded those horrific moments? And the biggest question of all, is this just the beginning of an even darker truth? This might be the final chapter for a music titan. This is everything Cassie revealed, raw, unfiltered, and uncut, right here in this video.
Live from the Southern District Court in New York, Manhattan woke to a tense electric atmosphere this morning. A biting wind swept across the steps of the Southern District Courthouse, where a swelling crowd gathered in breathless anticipation. Reporters jostled for position, cameras flashing like a storm about to break. Women's rights activists held aloft bold red banners proclaiming justice for Cassie. Meanwhile, a small but vocal group of Diddy supporters chanted, "They're slandering our king." One banner caught by a gust of wind fell to the ground, revealing a handwritten message, "The truth will prevail."
And then, the main act took the stage. Diddy walked into the courtroom like a man who still believed he was untouchable, swaggering, sharp in his suit, flanked by a battalion of elite attorneys. Lawyers paid millions to protect a crumbling empire now dangling over the edge. He moved with a calm arrogance, but that confidence, it wouldn't last long, because across the room, on the witness stand, sat Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie, 8.5 months pregnant, wearing a simple brown dress, no heavy makeup, just unwavering focus and steel in her eyes. Behind her, in the gallery, sat her husband, fitness trainer Alex Fine, his steady gaze locked on Cassie, silent but powerful, a quiet anchor of support. This wasn't just another celebrity trial, this was the reckoning of a music empire. For over a decade, Cassie and Diddy's relationship burned hot, glamorous, chaotic, and often shrouded in mystery. But in 2018, it ended, quietly. Still, buried beneath the silence were secrets, dark, brutal secrets, and now, one by one, they were about to be dragged into the light. More than a year ago, Cassie filed a lawsuit against Diddy, accusing him of abuse, control, and sexual exploitation, allegations he denied without hesitation. But then, the civil suit vanished in less than 24 hours, a settlement so fast it sent shockwaves through the industry. Why so quick? What was he afraid of? Because the truth is, that lawsuit lit a match, and what followed was an inferno. A federal investigation, a media storm, and the unraveling of a hip-hop titan. But now, this is no lawsuit, there's no settlement to sign. Today, Cassie isn't suing, she's testifying, in public, under oath, for the world to hear.
She's doing well, she had a restful night, she's ready for cross-examination, and we're very confident that she's going to do perfectly. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
What really happened behind those locked doors? How does a relationship, once seen as glamorous, become the living nightmare Cassie now describes? And the question that chills most, how could anyone endure this for 10 long years? This isn't just the story of Cassie and Diddy, it's a story about power, control, violence, and the deafening silence of an industry, of a society, that turned a blind eye while praising the glitter and gold. Cassie, now heavily pregnant with another man's child, has risked everything, her safety, her privacy, even the peace of her final trimester, all to sit under the harsh lights of a courtroom, reliving the darkest memories of her life. This is no ordinary testimony, it's a reckoning. A moment where the mask slips from the face of a man once crowned an entertainment king. At 10:12 a.m. it began. Her name echoed through the courtroom, Cassandra Ventura, known to the world as Cassie. Before she even took the stand, two witnesses had already painted grim outlines of a disturbing truth. But when Cassie walked forward, nearly 9 months pregnant, something shifted. Her body trembled, but her eyes, they burned with purpose. She wasn't just recalling pain, she was confronting it, head on. The courtroom fell silent, not a whisper, not a cough. Even the air felt frozen. Everyone in that room knew they were about to hear something that would change everything. This wasn't just a trial. It was the unmasking of a man once revered, now accused of being a monster.
Everyone was leaning in and focusing and watching this video. Literally, you can hear a pin drop in that courtroom.
The jurors began with soft, measured questions, a careful attempt to anchor Cassie, to steady her before guiding her into the harrowing depths of what was to come.
How old are you?
38.
What is your work?
Musician and entertainer.
How long were you with Sean?
10 years.
10 years, an entire decade trapped in a private hell. In 2006, Cassie was just 19, wide-eyed, full of dreams, and newly signed to Bad Boy Records, Diddy's empire of music, power, and promise. She couldn't have known then. That single step would lead her straight into the grip of a tyrant. What she thought was love wasn't love at all. It was a chain, invisible, suffocating, and relentless, slowly strangling her spirit and crushing every last shred of her dignity. In a chilling testimony that froze the courtroom, Cassie tore down the glittering illusion of the music industry, exposing a truth the public was never meant to see. Diddy, the mogul, the mastermind, the kingmaker who built Bad Boy, launched artists into stardom, and expanded his empire into fashion, television, and beyond, was, behind closed doors, something else entirely. According to Cassie, he was violent, he was controlling, he was ruthless, a monster hiding behind designer suits and platinum records.
She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on, to the lighting in the room, to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with.
Diddy controlled every corner of Cassie's life. Her world was his to shape, down to the tiniest detail. The color of her nails, always white, French tipped. The style of her hair, chosen by him. Even the way she spoke to others, carefully monitored, tightly controlled. But it didn't end there. Behind closed doors, Cassie was subjected to something far more disturbing. The freak-offs, the depraved gatherings she was forced to take part in. Not out of desire, not out of choice, but because he demanded it. She was made to perform in front of him, with other men, under his gaze, a spectacle for his twisted satisfaction. She was too young, too inexperienced, and too desperate to hold on to a career he held hostage. Her consent didn't matter, her comfort was irrelevant. All that mattered was his control.
Let me show you a video. Where is this?
The Intercontinental in Los Angeles. It was after a freak-off.
What does that entail?
The hiring of an escort, setting it up.
How did you feel when he first asked for it?
Confused, nervous. I wanted to make him happy.
Did you agree to one when he first proposed it?
Yes. Then there were more. It wasn't something I wanted to do, at least not that frequently.
Just 6 months after meeting Diddy, Cassie was pulled into a hidden world she never imagined, the sinister realm of freak-offs. These weren't one-time encounters. They were depraved marathons, lasting anywhere from 36 to 96 hours, sometimes stretching 4 relentless, soul-breaking days. And they weren't rare. They became a weekly ritual, held in lavish high-end hotels, the Intercontinental, the Trump Soho, the Gramercy, the Mandarin Oriental. Behind luxury suites and blackout curtains, unspeakable acts unfolded, far from the public eye. Participants used aliases, Jackie Starr, Frank Black, fictional names to mask very real darkness, false identities cloaking a twisted truth. This was a world built on control, secrecy, and exploitation, and Cassie, barely out of her teens, was trapped inside it.
Combs suggested hiring an escort to have sex with her while he watched. My stomach churned, Ventura said. I was confused, nervous, but also loved him very much and wanted to make him happy.
Cassie painted a chilling picture of hotel rooms soaked in blood, urine, and so much baby oil that the judge was forced to interrupt the prosecutor's questioning. She was just a young woman, but was ordered to find other women through Craigslist and Backpage. Escorts, sometimes with men like Clayton Howard, or a figure simply known as the Punisher. And what followed wasn't spontaneous, it was orchestrated, down to the last detail, by Diddy himself. He scripted the scenes, every flicker of a Glade candle, the exact temperature of the room, Johnson's baby oil applied for that glossy sheen, Astroglide lubricant on standby. If we ran out, I had to call the front desk and tip them, she said. Her voice was flat, distant, like someone reading aloud from a nightmare. Cassie revealed she was coerced into taking drugs, ecstasy, cocaine, molly, GHB, ketamine, mushrooms, anything to keep her awake through days that seemed never to end. I vomited from ecstasy and MDA, she said. GHB made my heart race. I hated it. Sometimes Diddy would watch her through FaceTime. She was his puppet in a game she never agreed to play. I felt disgusted, she admitted. There was too much in my mouth. I was choking. On one occasion, she said hot candle wax was poured onto her skin. She told him she didn't want it, her hands now wrapped protectively around her pregnant belly, shielding a child from memories no child should inherit. But the moment that broke her came in Las Vegas, 2010. High on ecstasy, Cassie lay on the floor of a dark hotel room. The lighting was low and hazy. Diddy and an escort stood over her and urinated on her face. I was gagging, she sobbed. I felt filthy, worthless, but if I said no, he'd beat me. The courtroom was silent. Even seasoned reporters sat frozen, stunned by the horror. Cassie confessed she once looked forward to the freak-offs, not because she enjoyed them, but because they were the only times she could be alone with him. I loved him, she said through tears. I thought this was how to make him happy. Her words were more than testimony. They were a window into the psychological hell she had survived, young, vulnerable, and trapped in the grip of a man she believed she loved, but who treated her like property.
Do you want to stop?
Yes, I was humiliated. I didn't have those words then. I couldn't talk to anyone about it.
Did you tell him you didn't want to?
Yes.
Why did you feel you couldn't say no?
I didn't want to make him angry or upset after he'd shared this part of himself with me.
Fear wasn't just a feeling for Cassie. It became her shadow, her constant companion. Diddy didn't just orchestrate the freak-offs. He filmed them, every twisted scene, and those recordings became his leverage, weapons of silence, tools of control. In court, a 2010 email was revealed, a desperate plea from Cassie, begging him to stop. But Diddy's reply wasn't comfort. It was a threat. He warned her if she ever spoke out, the videos would go public. I deleted them from my devices, Cassie testified, her voice laced with disgust. They were vile. But even now, she lives with a question that haunts her. Did he still have them? The fear didn't stop there. Cassie told the court that Diddy didn't just threaten her, he threatened her family. He made it clear, if she ever dared to break her silence, there would be consequences, retribution. This wasn't just abuse, it was psychological warfare, a constant crushing terror no one should ever endure.
Did you get in arguments?
Yes, it would result in dragging.
What else did he do?
Me in the head if I was down.
How frequently was he?
Too frequently. I would get black eyes and...
But the nightmare didn't end with sexual abuse and control. For 10 long years, violence followed Cassie like a shadow, ever present, inescapable, and unrelenting.
Where he would mash my head, knock me over, drag me, kick me.
Cassie's voice trembled as she unfolded a nightmare of brutality, a relentless storm of violence that shattered her. She spoke of savage beatings, her head smashed, her body dragged across floors, kicked and stomped, hurled against walls, shoved downstairs, choked until the world slipped into darkness. Each blow was more than physical. It carved deep scars into her soul, wounds no time could ever heal, but one memory burned brighter than the rest. A haunting nightmare from 2012 at the Four Seasons Hotel. A moment Cassie said she would carry with her forever. It began innocently enough, an industry after-party pulsing with music and power. Then Diddy's rage ignited. Why? Because Cassie dared to speak to another music executive. That famous red carpet smile vanished, replaced by a snarl. He grabbed her arm so hard it left marks, hissing threats in her ear, all while flashing charm to the crowd. Picture it, a man who owned every room he entered, dragging her through the hotel lobby like a possession. Her pleas were swallowed by the clatter of wealth and fame. Hotel security approached, eyes widening as they recognized Diddy. "Everything okay?" one asked, a nod from the mogul, and they melted away, leaving Cassie alone in his grip. No one asked if she was okay. Up in the room, the mask was gone. A champagne bottle flew past her head, shattering against the wall. Lamps smashed, tables flipped. The room was torn apart in his fury. For over 48 hours, she was a prisoner. Her phone snatched, her freedom stolen. Threats rang in her ears if she dared call for help. "I thought I was going to die that night," she whispered, voice barely audible. The courtroom leaned in, hanging on every word. The next morning, in the dim light of a bathroom mirror, she snapped photos. Bruises snaking across her arms, a split lip, a neck marked red from violence. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," she said, her words cutting through the silence like a blade. Then came the 2016 surveillance footage, grainy but damning, projected for all to see. It showed Diddy dragging Cassie down a hotel corridor, her body limp, her fight fading. "Where is this?" the prosecutor asked sharply. "The Intercontinental," Cassie answered, voice steady now. "That was the night I tried to escape. I reached for the hotel phone. He ripped it away, took my bag, everything." The photos she took afterward, raw, desperate images of bruises and a torn lip, hit the jury like a shockwave. One female juror covered her mouth, stifling a gasp. 2 male jurors turned away, unable to face the brutal truth staring back at them from the courtroom screens. "I took them because I was afraid no one would believe me," Cassie repeated, her voice a quiet but unshakable indictment. In that moment, the untouchable king of music looked small, his empire crumbling beneath the weight of her truth. Cassie didn't just bring her story to the courtroom, she brought an arsenal, meticulously gathered over years in secret, text messages, emails, photos, audio recordings, each one a dagger aimed straight at Diddy's carefully constructed empire. In them, he was both contrite and menacing, apologizing for brutal beatings in one breath, threatening to destroy her career in the next. One message exposed his desperation, a staggering $2 million offer for a clean break, a bribe to bury the past and silence her forever. But the real shock came from messages sent by A-list stars, a chart-topping rapper, a beloved pop diva, a veteran producer, all expressing horror at what they'd witnessed. Their words shredded Diddy's public image, exposing a dark truth the world had never seen. The prosecution didn't hold back. They read aloud Diddy's chilling threats, his demands for Cassie to recruit other women, references to hidden cameras capturing everything. Photos of her injuries, corroborated by friends, flashed on the screens, each bruise a silent scream, hospital records under a false name, flight logs tying Diddy to the infamous freak-off parties, complete with hired escorts, formed a damning web of evidence. Cassie's voice broke as she described flipping through a notebook, a grim roster of escorts Diddy used and how he forced her into encounters she never wanted. "I felt like an object," she said, voice shattering, tears spilling over like something for him to use. Amid the horror, Cassie paused, her gaze lost in the void, and in a moment that stopped the courtroom cold, she confessed she had once loved Diddy with every fibre of her being. "He was my everything," she whispered, voice trembling. "Those freak-offs, they were the only times I got him to myself, the only moments I felt connected to him." Her words hung heavy, a gut punch no one saw coming. Who could imagine? In the heart of a nightmare, Cassie had clung to love, sacrificing herself for fleeting scraps of warmth from the man she adored, but that love became her prison. Diddy, she said he turned her into a puppet, twisting her mind and strangling her musical dreams. "I stopped feeling human," she sobbed, reliving the days she bent to his will, using drugs, enduring those freak-offs, all just to escape his wrath. "I was just a young girl, thinking he'd lift my career," her voice cracked, raw with pain. The jury sat frozen. Jurors' eyes glistened as the weight of her words rewrote the story of a mogul's legacy. This wasn't just testimony, it was the unraveling of a myth. At the defendant's table, Diddy sat rigid, his face a stone mask, fingers clenched tightly around a water glass. The swagger he'd walked in with that morning was gone, obliterated within 30 minutes of Cassie's searing testimony. He fumbled with his tie, his cufflinks, scribbled frantic notes, whispered to his lawyers. But most of all, his eyes never left Cassie, a piercing glare that seemed to burn through her. Cassie never met his gaze, not once, as if his presence was a shadow she refused to face. But when she unveiled her arsenal, text messages, emails, apologies from Diddy for his violence, threats to crush her career, his shock was palpable. He had no idea she had been safeguarding these secrets for years. Messages from his inner circle, big-name friends, and business partners confirmed they'd witnessed his dark side at private parties. One message from producer Dallas Austin, a friend Cassie trusted, pleaded for her safety. These, alongside photos of her wounds and hospital records under a false name, painted a portrait of a Diddy the world never knew. Cassie went further, naming Diddy's loyal lieutenants, security, drivers, a former chief of staff, a financial handler, and their roles in his web of control. 7 photos of these figures flashed on the prosecutor's screen. Diddy couldn't stay still. He shot to his feet, fury erupting as he roared. "This is a lie! She's trying to destroy me!" His lawyer scrambled, yanking him back to his seat, but Diddy kept shouting, railing about betrayal. Court officers had to escort him out, leaving the courtroom in chaos. Behind him, his daughters seated near the defense fled in tears, unable to stomach the horrific details. Diddy's legal team, led by the sharp-tongued Tenny Garagos, fought to claw back control. They argued the 2016 video showed jealousy, not sex trafficking, and painted Cassie as a willing participant in Diddy's lavish lifestyle, driven by greed. Like the $20 million civil settlement she'd secured, they hammered her drug use, questioned her memory's reliability, and pointed to date discrepancies. They called a former assistant of Cassie's to the stand, only for prosecutors to expose the witnesses' payments from Diddy. Cassie admitted drugs and sex were central to their relationship, but stood firm on her claims of abuse and rape, including a 2018 assault. A text from her seemed to align with Diddy, but she explained, "I sent it because I feared what he'd do." When Garagos pressed, "Why didn't you leave?" Cassie's answer silenced the room, "Because he threatened my mother would disappear." Garagos froze. Jurors exchanged glances, the weight of her words sinking in. Outside, the internet exploded. A post from Alex Fine hailed Cassie as the strongest woman, racking up 2 million shares. Diddy's PR machine fired back, branding Cassie a schemer. But in the courtroom, his once loyal entourage began to slip away. As evidence piled up, texts, photos, recordings, they quietly exited, leaving Diddy nearly alone, just him and his lawyers against a tidal wave of truth. The man who'd ruled an empire now looked like a king dethroned, his legacy unraveling with every word Cassie spoke. Cassie's testimony stretched beyond 4 grueling hours, punctuated by pauses as her pregnancy weighed on her. Tears streamed down her face as she spoke of the freak-offs and the misguided love she once poured into Diddy, the man she called Pop Pop, who nicknamed her CC. "I did it to make him happy," she said, her voice breaking, raw with emotion. Now nearing 40, she looked back on a younger self, trapped, powerless, a girl stripped of control. "I thought I'd never escape," she confessed. "But today, I'm done staying silent." The prosecutors hammered the stark power imbalance. Cassie, a 19-year-old aspiring singer, pitted against Diddy, a 37-year-old titan who held her career and finances in his grip. They unveiled evidence of Diddy's inner circle, bodyguards, HR chief enablers, who helped tighten his control. "If I didn't answer his call right away, someone would show up," Cassie said, voice trembling as she glanced at photos of the guards. The prosecution's case was clear. This wasn't just domestic abuse, it was a criminal enterprise, with Diddy at its core, wielding fame and power to orchestrate a 2-decade web of exploitation. As Cassie stepped down from the witness stand, supported by her husband Alex, her eyes were weary but free of fear. Gone was the naive 19-year-old who'd entered Diddy's world. Today, she's a wife, a mother expecting her 3rd child, living a quiet life with Alex, who often shares his love for her on Instagram. "She's the greatest mother," he once posted, and now, in the courtroom, he was her rock, unwavering at her side. The Cassie of 2025 is a far cry from the Cassie of 2006, a rising R&B star once compared to Kiara and Rihanna. Her debut album, produced by Ryan Leslie, cracked the top 20, but then, nothing. "I kept waiting," she said in her testimony, "but the freak-offs held my career hostage." A 10-album deal with Bad Boy Records yielded just 1 release, and Cassie faded from the spotlight, resurfacing only briefly on red carpets or in a Nicki Minaj track 6 years later. Beyond the courtroom, social media erupted. Hashtags like Ishtinot Cassie Speaks and the Diddy trial trended worldwide. Artists like Kalani demanded the music industry take accountability, while rumors swirled about others like Meek Mill allegedly tied to the freak-offs, though no concrete evidence has emerged. But inside the courtroom, Cassie was the focal point. Alex's gaze never left her, a beacon of light piercing the darkness of her past, guiding her through the storm of memories. The story of Cassie and Diddy is a stark warning. Not every relationship draped in glamour is true love. When power is twisted to control and suffocate another, it ceases to be love. It becomes oppression. Cassie made the courageous choice to step out of the shadows and speak her truth, not just for herself, but for thousands of silent victims still trapped. And once the wheels of justice begin to turn, they don't stop easily. As day 2 of the trial drew to a close, the man who strode into the courtroom as music's untouchable king left looking like a defeated general. His security team, once a fortress around him, couldn't shield him from the storm raging inside that courtroom. The evidence, the testimony, the recordings, they painted a picture no one could unsee. The question now isn't whether Diddy can win this case, it's whether his reputation can ever recover from the truth the world heard today.